but your boy is back. Your boy is back to boxing. Yeah. All you motherfuckers saying he ain't fighting again. He's sticking with the music. He's a pussy. I'm back in the ring. August 27th, 2022. I'm out here knocking someone out. And yeah, it's been, how long has it been? 2+ years? It's been a while.
I know. It's been a long time for me too. I haven't made a YouTube boxing video in months. And what happens? I take a break from YouTube and I come back to all of this. I've come back to KSI saying that he's gonna box again. In all honesty, this is something I did not expect in a million years to happen, especially this year. But this isn't a bad thing. If anything, this is very good and I'm very happy about it. So JJ uploaded a video announcing that yes, he is indeed boxing again. He will be boxing on the 27th of August. We don't know who JJ is going to be fighting, but a lot of people were thinking on the internet that it's either going to be Alex Wasabi, because obviously he's the guy who beat Deji and he wants to get revenge for Deji, or a lot of people are saying that he's most likely going to be fighting Austin McBroom. If you used to ask me who I think he'll fight, it will probably most likely be Austin McBroom. I'm not going to do the classic YouTube boxing video where I sit there and I analyze people's styles and who's going to win because, oh, someone's better at uppercutting, someone might be better at jabs, because at the end of the day, all of that is complete irrelevant twaddle. Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no possible way for me to make a video analysing JJ's fighting ability, as we haven't seen him in the ring or really seen anything to do with boxing since the last 2 years. So whatever my predictions will be, they're just predictions. So I'm not going to waste your time. We're just going to talk about the brass tacks and talk about why JJ is boxing again. Of course, most of this will come down to my interpretations, as you know, we don't know the ins and outs right now. We just know that he is going to be fighting. But the question is why is JJ fighting? What is the point? Why is he doing it? And if you was to ask me honestly, which is probably why you're watching this video, I genuinely think the only reason why he is boxing again is because of pride. When we look at JJ, everything he does seems to breed success. You know, his music is very successful. Sidemen is very, very successful. And then obviously his personal YouTube channels, they're also successful. Everything he does in his career is successful. But the one thing that has always let him down is the boxing. A few years ago, you know, that was different. You know, JJ, he clearly was the king of YouTube boxing. He beat Joe Weller, he then drew with Logan Paul, and then of course he finally beat Logan Paul in 2019. So after JJ beat Logan Paul, yes, everyone on the internet was like, okay, fair enough, you're clearly the king of YouTube boxing. You just beat Logan Paul, who is realistically, you know, the only other guy who would actually be good at boxing. And in all honesty, JJ could have just left it at that. You know, people could have just remembered him as the winner of Logan Paul versus KSI, and he probably wouldn't be fighting right now. But the problem with JJ, this isn't a secret, you know, I'm not slating him. I don't want people crying in the comments. JJ is a very arrogant guy. Like, there's no two ways around it. He is. And this isn't a secret. Everyone knows this. So when he beat Logan Paul, he, of course, naturally, you know, if you felt like the big man, like, I beat Logan Paul, you would probably talk smack on the internet. But the problem with JJ is he talks smack on basically everybody. People called him out and JJ was saying, no, I'll beat you, easy fight, you know, easy money, all of that. And JJ was saying, I don't need to fight you, you're nothing. Like, I've beat Logan Paul, I've proved my point, bloody, bloody, blah. But then the problem was JJ didn't really expect Jake Paul to come into the scene the way he has. JJ clearly started slating Jake Paul, saying how he's not as good, and JJ was saying how he's better than Jake and how he'd always bash him up in a fight and all of this. And obviously Jake was continuously calling out JJ.
Listen, stop making it about the money, KSI. Let's get the fight happening.
JJ never took the fight purely because he was too busy to fight Jake. The problem there is, if JJ was too busy to fight Jake Paul, JJ should have not carried on slandering him, because at the end of the day, Jake was the one that was proving his point. He was the one that was doing more things for boxing. JJ was doing more fights. And essentially what happened is, even KSI's own fans, you know, they started to become a bit fed up with JJ, basically saying, oh, I'll knock you out, I'll do this, I'll do that. But then he never did anything. And every time it came down to why he wasn't fighting Jake or why he wasn't proving his point, he always had an excuse. He got away with it for a few years, But now at this current stage, if JJ says, I'm the best YouTube boxer, people will say, even his fans will say, you're not though, are you? Like Jake is. If you really want to be called the best YouTube boxer, fight Jake, because people are kind of tired of you talking shit, in all honesty. Basically, JJ should have just kept his mouth quiet and let YouTube boxing die with him, but of course he didn't let that happen because of the arrogance. So KSI basically has this image where he constantly wants to enforce the idea that he is always successful. Everything he does creates money out. I'm the best at everything I do. But the problem is the only thing that's stopping him from achieving that 100% success status is the boxing. Now JJ will most likely fight somebody who, well, let's be real, he's going to fight somebody who he knows he will beat. A bit like Jake Paul when he was fighting Ben Askren and Nate Robinson. You know, Jake Paul knew he was going to beat them, which is why he took them fights, which is fine, because in all honesty, a lot of people do the journeyman fights. Jake Paul just did it in a different way. He did it when he was already in the public eye, and it's a messed up, but JJ will be doing the same as Jake Paul. JJ will fight someone he knows he can beat, and I haven't really got a problem with that. You understand why, because he needs to get back in the routine, but once he is in the routine, he will then fight Jake Paul, because Jake Paul should realistically be the final fight. So basically, in a nutshell, JJ needs to fight again in order to complete his legacy of ultimate success. And fighting Jake Paul is the only way to basically end the YouTube boxing, end that chapter and move on. But the YouTube boxing has always been that thing that's been lingering on in the background, which has kind of taken away his credibility. And I think JJ's, he's been too busy focusing on his music, his YouTube and everything. So now he's thinking, I have enough money to retire. But before I do, I want to tie up this one loose end. And I think he's going to try and tie up the YouTube boxing by trying to take that fight with Jake Paul. And then, not to mention, on top of that, he will be making an absurd amount of money. So why not do it? But before he fights Jake Paul, he does have this warm-up fight, which he said countless times he will be having a warm-up fight. We've seen on one of his most recent videos that he has lost a lot of weight. He is taking it seriously. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you basically know that I'm not the biggest KSI fan. He's not really the creator for me. I personally don't understand why people enjoy his content so much, but despite that, leaving that aside, I can almost guarantee you that this event that JJ will host, or, he's be the main headline fight, this event will be good. In all honesty, it will be good, because every YouTube boxing fight since KSI versus Logan Paul 2 has been a failure. TikTok versus YouTube, the Social Gloves event, people didn't get paid simply because of the pay-per-view buys were very bad. The most recent fight where Deji took place, I can't tell you what company made it, but from what I know from the Waffling podcast with Joe Weller, is apparently what happened is that because there was so little people in the venue, they used these black sheets on the top of the stadium to cover the seats that were empty because the sales were that bad. So obviously that event didn't do well. The iDubbbz one, I can't tell you, I'm out of the loop, I don't know. Basically what I heard from podcasts is a lot of the YouTube boxing events have failed purely because the promotion hasn't been that good and they just haven't turned over a lot of money. But whatever KSI does do, obviously he has the biggest team around him. He has got the best management. He works with he works with Upload, and he works with a lot of people that know exactly what they're doing. And the event in August of this year will be very good, and people will be paid. It will be high quality. It will be a very good event. And obviously the benefit of this is this will keep YouTube boxing alive, because let's be honest, with the constant failure of YouTube boxing events like the Social Gloves event, that is what's killing YouTube boxing off essentially, because people are going to start thinking, well, what's the point? We're putting in all this effort and it's not making enough money. What is the point? But when JJ comes along and he has this event, it will probably, make people want to box again. It'd be good to have a good event again, because like I said, it's been 2 years since we had something that actually made money. But what I will say is I will give credit to JJ. Him doing a boxing fight this year will severely help the YouTube boxing scene, and it is very much needed. Whatever my opinion is on JJ, You know, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. The guy can host good events, and I'm very looking forward to it. And if it's in the UK, you know, I have the money and I will try my hardest to attend it. Overall, let me just finish this video by saying that I think this event will be very good. No matter what happens, I can almost guarantee you that JJ will take the win. And the main reason why JJ is doing this is to prove to everyone, you know, he has to prove to everyone that all these years of shit talking, you know, he needs to prove that he wasn't lying, and he needs to prove himself to the YouTube boxing community. And I think, in all honesty, once he's finished this YouTube boxing and he's got it ticked off his list, you know, it's done, it's final, I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see JJ almost taking a step away from YouTube and, you know, focusing mainly on his music and, you know, like his sidemen and stuff. Because, you know, I was listening to a podcast on the Happy Hour podcast, and it was the Upload manager, and what he was saying was true. He said, look, at the end of the day, the sidemen, they're all coming into their 30s, you know, Ethan's having a kid. Like, the whole YouTube scene may change eventually, because all of these guys, the OGs, they're getting on a bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if eventually you see JJ focusing more on his music, because, well, you know, that has longevity in it. And I think doing this YouTube boxing fight almost allows him to focus more on his music and do the odd video here and there for his old school fans. So yes, that's a lot to take in. I just want to say, if you agree with me, if you have any other reasons why you think JJ will be boxing, let me know in the comments down below. I just want to say thank you to everyone for watching this video. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you soon. Peace!